friends, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time visiting, my name is Tina and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up and I live in beautiful Nova Scotia, Canada. And to all my friends returning, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating 4 different cards for you, and these cards are part of my customer appreciation card class for February 2023. And what that means is if you are a customer of mine and you've placed an order with me this month, you're going to receive a kit in the mail to create these cards at home. I'll have all the cardstock pre-cut for you, as well as the die cuts and punches and embossing done for you, so you can sit at home and stamp and assemble your cards as well. If you don't have the same products that I'm using in today's demonstration, feel free to swap them out and use what you do have, or alternatively, my online store link and the supply list will be listed in the description below. And also, I'm sharing this video with all of you, no matter who you are or where you live, so that you can hopefully get some fun card ideas and inspiration for your card making at home as well. So without further ado, let's start stamping. The first card in this month's class is super easy and very simple, and I'm using Covered in Sunshine stamp set. So if you don't have the stamp sets that I'm using in this month's cards, use what you have. If you live in Canada and you don't already have a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I'd be honored to serve you. My information is in the description down below, or you can go to stampinup.com and find a demonstrator near you, or just use what you have. So I love this stamp set. I love the sayings. I love the fonts in this. So I wanted to use this on today's card. I'm also using Designer Series paper from our Country Floral Lane package. I have cut this down to measure 4 1/4 by 5. My card base is Sweet Sorbet that has been, I took an 8 1/2 by 11 piece, scored it down at 5 1/2, and I got 2 cards out of this. So when they're folded, it's 11 by 4 1/4. So when it's folded, it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I don't know why I made that such a mouthful, but that's my card base. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this layer on. Okay. So because I cut it at 5, it's going to leave me about 1/4 of an inch cardstock top and bottom. Isn't this pattern pretty, you guys? And so springy. Really like that. Okay, next up is a piece of basic white cardstock, and this measures 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. And I'm going to bring my Stamparatus in. And now I'm bringing in some of my Stampin' Write markers. So I have my Mint Macaron, my Mossy Meadow, my Sweet Sorbet, and I am missing my Balmy Blue. 1 second. Balmy Blue. No, that's Pool Party. Where's my Balmy Blue? There's my Balmy Blue. All right. So I'm going to start by using my Mint Macaron. And I know I have shown this stamp set and this marker direct to the stamp technique in some previous videos, but I'm doing it again because I love the stamp set and I love this technique and I use it a lot. And for those of you who are new to stamping and you may not have a lot of supplies, this is a great way to get lots of color using your markers, even if you don't have a lot of ink pads yet. Okay, so I'm just going to use an old rag that I have on my desk and just clean that ink off. And now I'm going to go in with my Balmy Blue, and I'm going to go on the line below it. And stamp that down. And the beautiful thing, of course, using a Stamparatus like this, is we can just keep on inking until we get the desired intensity of color that we want. All right, clean the ink off again. You can use an old baby wipe. We have our Simply Chamois for cleaning stamps. I just don't want my stamp to get wet, so I'm just using a dry cloth. Let's see, next color. Let's use mossy meadow. So I'm gonna do the next 2 lines. And I always say to use your marker on the side versus taking the tip and going straight down, because that will hurt your marker and it will not be happy if you do that. You don't want to ruin the tip of your marker. So have your marker on a slant, can you see? And work on the side brush end. For some reason, this marker seems like it's drying out a little bit. So I'm just going to keep adding some more. Okay. Next up, Sweet Sorbet. Oh, and I forgot to clean my stamp, didn't I? It's all right. I'm just going to keep my marker above that mossy meadow because I don't want to contaminate my marker. But having said that, this ink is probably already dry. And that's where the huffing technique comes in. Not that I've really done the huffing technique using the Stamparatus, but when your stamp is on a block and the ink is dry, just huff on it and the moisture in your breath will re-moisten it. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, oh, no. I want to get this little bit red right here. There we go. I'm going to pull in my black just to do this bit on the top and bottom of the stamp. Okay. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? And I can see I missed a little bit on this red, so I'm going to go back in. There we go, that's better. So there it is with all the pretty colors. Next, I'm bringing in the Very Best Trio Punch, and I'm going to punch all 4 corners of this piece using that little punch bit right there. So I'm just putting it in, I'm lining it up, and punch, and do that all the way around. Okay, so let's bring the card back in and some Stampin' Dimensionals. A new pack of Stampin' Dimensionals. All right. Now, I was just going to put this on right here like that, okay? That was my plan. But I'm losing my bike images, which I love the bikes. So I'm actually just going to put it off on the side, move it up a little bit. I'm trying to keep this one. I know I'm hiding the basket of flowers in the back, but you know, that's okay. Okay, next up, I have used the Country Lane punch, and I punched out a heart from the Petal Pink cardstock, and I ran it through the In the Clouds embossing folder, which is an item you can get for free with a qualifying order this month during celebration. And I thought, you know what? This is great for more than just clouds. This is great for just adding texture even to hearts. So that's what I did. So I'm going to put a dimensional behind that. And just pop that on. And now I'm bringing in some of the ribbon that's part of this same Country Lane collection, and I'm going to do a bow trick that I've shown before, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Normally I do this where I wrap my ribbon right around the entire paper, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just taking my clear wink of Stella. You could use a round paintbrush. You can actually use a Stampin' Spritzer bottle. I know I have one floating around. Let's do that. You want something where your ribbon is going to slide off easily. So you're going to tie a knot really, really tight. Just like that. Tie it really, really tight. And then I'm just going to trim this on each ends and slide it off. And then you have this loop. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut it on a slant. And then I just have a pretty quick bow embellishment. And I'm going to just put a mini glue dot on the center of the heart. And then I'm hiding my words, so I'm going to trim that up a little bit. Piece of white paper for the inside. And there is that card completed. So I'm going to show you a couple variations. So here's another one that I made using the same portrait layout, different stamp set. And then here's a third one that I made where I did it landscape and the third sentiment stamp in that stamp set. So they are all so pretty, I think, and they're so easy. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a little ink spot right there, and I purposely kept that there so I could show you how I fix little things like that. So these are the adhesive backed pastel sequins that are part of this Country Floral Lane suite. So I'm just going to take those out, and I should show you. One sheet is bigger than the other. So these are a little bit smaller than these ones. Look how pretty. So I'm going to pick up a big one and put it right on top of that ink spot, and shazammer, it's gone, out of sight, forever forgotten. I'm gonna, oops, didn't I pick one up? I thought I did. We got a clump going on over here. Alright, let's use the other end. I always forget about using the other end. I'm gonna put that one there. That one's got more of that petal pink in it. And I think I will grab one of these ones down here and put that one right there. So see how that just instantly stepped it up, and it hid that little bit of ink behind there. Don't you just love that? I love that. And because I really like that pop of color, I'm going to add some of these onto my other two cards also. I'm going to put one there. I'll put, I always like to work in odd numbers. So there's that one. And then this one's got some blue in it, so I definitely want to put a blue sequin on there. We'll put one right there. And then we'll take a tiny pink one, maybe put that there, and then a small blue one, and put that one here. Hey you, that one's determined to get on the card. So that just adds some pretty sparkle. So let me show those cards to you again now that they've got their gems on them. Simple, simple, simple. But don't you just love simple? I mean, our 3D cards and the fancy folds, they're great too, but we need to have simple cards in our back pocket when we need to make quite a few cards, or if time is short, or if we just don't want to be uber fussy. So in the card kit, you will receive the card base, the pre-cut designer series paper, the pre-cut basic white. The heart will be punched and run through the embossing folder, and you'll also have some ribbon. So everybody is probably going to get some different patterns than others, but they will all be from that Country Floral Lane package. The second card is a masculine card, and I'm using the Brood for You bundle. And this is a really fun card to make. I am using Early Espresso for my card base, and like the first card, this measures 11 by 4 1/4. And then I've cut another piece of Early Espresso. This measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I ran it through our music embossing folder. And the reason I did that is I'm thinking, if you're gonna have a drink, maybe you're at the pub, so there'll bound to be some good music there, right? And this is a birthday card, so you don't have to use the music embossing folder, but I thought this would be cute for this card. And those of you who place orders with me this month, when you get this card kit, this will already be embossed for you. I'm not quite sure if I have that upside down or not. I'll do that. Okay. So there's that. Next, I have 4 pieces of cardstock, and these all measure 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So I have crushed curry, basic white, pumpkin pie, and balmy blue. I'm just going to stamp OL yes, OL yes, and I'm going to stamp using Pacific Point on my balmy blue first. And my balmy blue and my pumpkin pie are going to go on the left side of my card. So I'm going to stamp over towards the left because I want to leave some space on the center of my card. And of course you want to clean your stamp in between stamping. Next, I'm bringing in Cajun Craze to stamp on top of my pumpkin pie. Again, stamping over towards the left. Next up is my crushed curry, and I'm going to stamp pumpkin pie on that. And now, because the next 2 squares are going to be off my right, I'm stamping off to the right. And I mean, you could stamp in the center of these, but we are going to put the mug of beer in the center for this card. So that's why I'm doing it like that. And then Early Espresso on the white. Okay, so that's how it's going to go on the card front. Now, of course, you could use the Stampin' Dimensionals to put these on your card, but I am going to be using a strip of our foam adhesive sheet, because then I only have to put 1 square in the center of each of these stamped squares. So pulling these 2 in first, I'm just going to center them before I stick them down. Okay, we're going to stick the blue one down though. Okay, so now I'm going to put the blue one down. And the crushed curry, just lining them up. And then the third one. And then the last one. Now I have a scrap piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to pull in Smoky Slate, and I'm stamping this image first. It's a 2-step stamp set, so I'm going to stamp that on top next. So I'm just going to ink that up, stamp it down. And actually, I'm going to keep the Smoky Slate out, and I'm going to do the bubbles next. I did them in Daffodil Delight on my last card, but I'll show you what it looks like with the Smoky Slate. And now the second step, and I'm using Daffodil Delight for this, and I've just re-inked all of my ink pads, so they are very intense right now. And I think 2 Stampin' Dimensionals will be good. I could have used my adhesive sheets, but I'm just going to use these. And I'm kind of centering it like so. Now I'm just going to cut a tiny piece of Stampin' Dimensional, put it on this top little bubble, and put a little bit of glue just around the edge. I just think that is so cute. So for the inside of the card, I stamped the sentiment, another round for your birthday, with Cajun Craze, and then I stamped a different image on the inside and took my blender pen with a bit of the smoky slate underneath the glass just to make it look like it's grounded and not floating in space. So I'll show you the first card I made, pretty much identical. The only difference is you can see here I stamped the foam, the beer foam, with the Daffodil Delight, and here I did it in the gray. Both look really good, but I wanted you to see the difference so that when you're stamping this at home, you'll know which one you want to do. Great card layout. Imagine changing this up with different colors and different stamps, different embossing folders. Easy, easy card layout. So for card number 3, I am making a masculine theme card using the On the Ocean stamp set and coordinating dies. Really fun set. And my card base is soft suede. It's cut at 11 by 4 and 4¼ by 11, scored at 5½. It is going to open like this. And then I have a piece of basic white. This measures 5 by 3½. So we are going to do some masking on this card, and I'm going to pull in some of our Stampin' Up! Masking paper. And it's already got a slit right down the center, but I think I'm just going to cut it down a little bit smaller. So I'm actually going to cut it right down the center at 2½. And 1¼ Now, if you don't have masking paper, you can use scrap paper, you can use large post-it notes. All right, so I'm just gonna put my paper right onto my placemat using my grid lines for markers, and then I'm going to position my masking paper across the top. Again, just following the grid lines. And then down below also. Okay, so I'm just going to make a bit of a sky scene. So I'm pulling in my balmy blue, which I tend to use a lot if you haven't already noticed. And I'm just taking my blending brush and going off on the side just so it's not too dark as I add it to my paper. Okay, I'm going to pull in a little bit of Tahitian Tide. And I'm starting more in the center and working my way over to the left because I don't want to cover up all of that balmy blue that I just put down. I'm going to kind of make this lighter, going across a little bit darker. And now I'm pulling in my Night of Navy. And I'm starting on the left side, working my way into the center. I'm going to put a little bit across the top and on the sides and the bottom over here, but I still have some balmy blue, some of that Pacific Point, just to give a bit of a variation. And I think that's good. So let's pull this off. It's always magic when you do this bit. So now I'm going to stamp the water image, and I'm going to use Bermuda Bay for this. And I'm going to start by stamping off and then on, so that it's overlapping a little bit on that sponging as well as on the white. And I'm going to go right across. Now with my soft suede ink pad, I'm going to stamp You Are a Treasure, and I'm going to stamp it right here on the top. I'm just adhering this onto my card base. I'm going to put it over along the crease, just for something different. Now those of you who get the card kits will have some die cuts. There's going to be clouds, there's going to be the mast and the boat. Now if you have the stamp set, it's always easier to stamp and then die cut, but there is a cloud stamp. So if you don't have the stamp set, you can use the cloud just as it is, or you can stamp onto the die cut. And I'm going to stamp with smoky slate, but I'm going to stamp off on my scrap paper first because I don't want it to be too dark. And so I'm just going to take my die cut, position it right on top, and just give it a little press so that I have the image on my die cut. I'm going to take my liquid glue and glue this onto my card front. And I'm going to glue that right over here. And I'm going to let it go past just a little bit. I'm going to stamp the birds in black right there. And now it's time to put my boat on. So I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to just put that like there. I'm going to put the mast kind of underneath it, lining up this middle bit. Then I have a little flag that I've cut out of red cardstock. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on one side and stick that underneath. And now I'm going to glue this down. Just add a little bit. Just hold it in place. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of glue here just to hold that down. Then we've got the little skull die cut, which is adorable. I'm going to put that on here. And I'm going to take my soft suede Stampin' Up marker and color this bit. And I should have done this before I put it on the card, but I honestly forgot. So now I have a piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock. It's 5 inches long, and I'm lining up the little waves dies, and I'm going to cut that out. So this is what you get with these dies. Super fun. So you could use like all different pieces of this. So I'm actually going to put a little bit behind here, and I'm just going to snip this right there. I don't want it to be cornered like that though. There we go. And I'm going to glue that directly to the paper, and I'm going to let it go off on the side a little bit. So we've got the stamped waves behind. It goes there. I'm going to glue this to go behind that piece right there. So, oops. And then this piece fits on that die cut. Do you see how that fits on there? So you get that extra dimension, which is super cool. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to cut that right about here and add a little bit of glue. You can also use your silicone mat and a sponge and sponge on the glue. I'm just doing a couple little dabs of glue here and there. This one is going to go right over top, but I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals for that. Okay, and then this little piece that I cut off, I'm going to put that on now. So it kind of looks like that's, you know, the crest of the water with all that extra action going on with the waves. I wanted to keep some of the white in there because, of course, there's crests in the water. So I just think that's really cool and really, really different than the cards we normally make, but it's a great card for somebody special in your life. I'm going to bring in a little bit of Clear Wink of Stella and just put a little bit of that on the waves. I've actually decided I don't want this to go past the brown, so I'm actually going to trim that off. For the inside, I'm going to stamp I'd Be Lost Without You with black. I'm going to stamp this right beside it. Okay, and I'm going to bring my placemat back because I'm going to stamp the waves again with Bermuda Bay, but stamp them off twice and then just stamp right on top. So there's that card done. It's super fun, super sweet card. So for the last card, I'm using the Flowers and More 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. This is a host reward package of paper. It is amazing. Let me just show you some of the paper in this. So you need to have a qualifying order of $200 Canadian before tax and shipping if you want to choose this as your part of your host rewards, or you can have a party and collect the orders. So the paper is amazing. The patterns are so colorful and bright and awesome. And there is a ton of paper in this pack. There are 48 sheets. And then the card that we're going to be making is so quick and easy. You will love it. So I have my basic white card base. When folded, this measures 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I have my Tahitian tie. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to glue this on. Then I have my 3 by 5 Designer Series paper. I'm going to glue that on top. How pretty and springy is that? I love it. So I have a 3 by 3/4 piece of Tahitian tide, and then I have a 4 by 1 piece of Parakeet Party. So I'm just going to flag these. So I'm just going up the center and then the sides into the center. So I'm just gluing the smaller one behind that Parakeet Party. Now I'm bringing in my handmade tag punch. This is from our holiday catalog, and it was carried over into our current mini catalog, and you can see it on page 74 of our mini catalog, the handmade tag punch. So the stamps that I'm using for this sentiment is Simply Fabulous. And this is a fabulous stamp set. I love this. So for this card, I'm using There Is Beauty in Everything, and I'm going to ink that up with my Tahitian tide. And then From the same stamp set, I'm taking this image right here with my Parakeet Party, just to add a little bit of green down below. I'm going to stamp again without re-inking. So it's all right. This is going to be put on with some dimensionals. Here we have our beautiful in color ribbons that coordinate with the colors in this designer series paper. So I've gone ahead and combined the Tahitian Tide with the Parakeet Party ribbon and tied a double bow. And I'm just going to take a mini glue dot and then just position that right on the center. And to finish the card, I'm going to bring in some iridescent rhinestones and just kind of tuck them onto the card sporadically. You could take these strips and run them through an embossing folder to add a little bit of texture. Really, really easy, fun layout because you're using the designer series paper to do most of the artwork for you, and of course our color coordination is key. So I hope you enjoyed this month's card class, and all of the details, supply list and PDF tutorial, everything will be listed in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Take care and happy stamping.